welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're going to take a look at the Van Winkle Family Reserve 13-year-old rye, released in 2020, Dustin. Comes in at 47.5,
I believe.
8, 5? Is that a 5 or an 8? I can't see very
It's an
well
8.
anymore. It's an 8. Okay, good. I thought I was going
That's
blind.
an odd proof, but I guess I'm sure marketing was involved in that decision.
It must mean something, right, Dustin? I doubt it's cast strength.
No.
So I tell you what, Dustin, we've had a lot of good luck with some ryes lately. Some new riff ryes, a few other ones we've had that were some real showstoppers. We were lucky enough to get sent this sample of the Van Winkle Family Reserve 13-year-old rye from one of our subscribers.
Appreciate you, buddy. I don't think I cleared if we want to give your name or not, so we're going to go without it just in case. I know some people
We can always add
out
them.
there.
We can always add them to credits after.
Exactly.
But we'll try a few samples out today. This one I was particularly interested in. Dustin, anything else you want to say before we get to it?
Yeah, so this is one of the harder ones to get of the Van Winkle line, Mike. So they used to be I think only releasing this one every other year, but I was told from some people that they're starting to make this an annual release, so maybe it's a little more available, but as you know, Mike, if it says Van Winkle, you're probably going to struggle to get one.
For sure. And a pretty decent ABV and a pretty decent age statement. I know they make older ones there, but exciting one to get to, Dustin. So let's get to it. Beautiful, rich color there. 13 years.
Yeah, good
I
age.
would expect at least that rich of a color.
Whew, that is Christmas trees, green Jolly Ranchers. I'm getting a lot of candy, fruits, nice spices. It's very classic rye, but it's turned up on the sweetness, and there's a decent little bit of leather oak. Nothing crazy, little tobacco leaves maybe.
Hey, geez, you lead me a little too fast, Dustin.
Sorry.
Like a dog walking a little too slow behind you. Yeah, I love what you said. Usually when I think rye, I don't know what the rye percentage is here, but usually when I think rye, my nose expects a little more mint, a little more tobacco mint leaf kind of coming in, but this is still very bourbon, caramel, sweet, rich initially. But it does have that extra layer of depth to it.
Rumors are this is a barely legal rye, so 51% rye, so pretty heavy corn.
Sure.
That's all rumors. I don't know.
I can see that. It's very...
It's definitely not one of those 100% or 99 ones.
Yeah, you don't almost think the rye is... This could very well be construed as a bourbon.
Absolutely, yeah. Maybe Four Roses or something. Maybe a really well-aged Four Roses.
But you're right, to go along with that, when you said Christmas spices and candies, absolutely. That's what the rye kind of adds to it, some of those Christmas spices. And you're right, I was thinking Jolly Ranchers candies, or just my girls have been those not sweet tarts, but some other type of confectionery candy that she's been really into, this overly sugared and overly sweet.
Starting to go back and forth between, is it apple or a green apple, or is it a watermelon candy? Because they're different, but they're kind of similar in this kind of scenario.
Yeah, they're pretty close, other than the tartness of a green apple. The tartness is where it's
not
green
tart.
apple. Right, so I would venture to say watermelon.
I do get a bit of vanilla every now and then coming through. Really sweet candy. That's a classic Van Winkle thing. I'm positive these guys, when they go picking the barrels for the Van Winkle line, it's all about the nose. It's all about that really almost sickeningly sweet candy notes and heavy vanillas. And they just want enough age to where you're going to get some of that tobacco, leather, or oak.
Yeah, I wouldn't say this is overly oaked by any stretch of the imagination. No. Very light on the oak note. For 13 years is a good amount of time for it to be a substantial component to the whiskey, at least on the nose, but I'm not getting it.
I agree. I don't think this is... I think they could have gone another 6 years. Well, they did do an 18-year Sazerac rye, I guess, so they do go 5 plus years.
The longer I go, the more the rye notes are coming up, though.
Yeah, like I said, it's just a hint of that leather or tobacco note. It's nothing heavy.
Yeah, it's really coming in strong mint now.
Are you getting a good mint note?
A strong mint, just with, I would say, a little bit of a ruffle of tobacco leaf on the edge of it. But almost something cooling as well. It almost comes off, when we were talking about Christmas candy before, it almost comes off like a little wisp of cold with it. Yeah. But sometimes I get that with rye, because I don't get that kind of cooling menthol sensation a little bit, that Ardbeg sensation sometimes. This is one of those times. It comes down a little bit as far as
I get a bit of that. I see why somebody would say mint. This does not come off distinctly minty for me. It's just more vegetal rye notes. But yeah, I mean, I get what I'm picking up what you're putting down.
You can not agree. It's okay.
But like I said, that's just not. That's to me, it's more of vanilla with candy, powdered candy, maybe a note more than a true mint or spearmint.
Well, the unique thing about the mint note is it's just covered with just those bourbon notes just popping in between it all the time. I mean, it's just a sort of it's so intermingled with the sweetness of it. It's hard to separate it.
Definitely getting more candied. I'm getting a little bit of lemon head now.
If I didn't say this before, this was the 2020 release. Just under 48%. That's a good ABV.
Yeah, no, we've talked about like in like Glengoyne 25, for example. We really like that 48%.
We've always said 48% is a minimum ABV to definitely have a super, or to usually have a super rich whiskey. Usually, if they're below that, it's they have a problem.
Dive in.
Have a problem pulling that off. You can make arguments that Ardbegs at 46 can do it, but I'll make the argument that that's the one thing I don't like about Ardbegs is they've capped out at 46%. So teach them. What do you get?
So one thing's for sure, this isn't a soft, subtle whiskey. Good bit of spice. The candy notes are here big time. It's rich. It's very decadent. It's got a lot of those nice fruit notes. First drink of the night. Definitely caught me with a little more spice than I think I'll get if I have a second sip here. So I'm bringing down the notes on the spice. But yeah, for a Buffalo Trace product, definitely high on spice. They try to go overly approachable, overly soft. This one, good little bit of rye punch. So much candy.
Christmas cake and a glass of bourbon next to it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it tastes like to me. You get the fruity notes of it. You get that rye note and the fruit notes kind of right away. But as soon as you swallow this, instantly with just that rush of sweet caramel. Good strong. I mean, this is a good strong linger. Again, very high on the sweetness. Very high on the caramel. Oak note is insubstantial, if anything at all, which is surprising to me for 13 years old. Rich, you said decadent. That's a good word. Very full. Full, rich.
Here, just enough to tease it.
One of the more interesting, lesser aged Van Winkles that I've ever had.
I honestly get less oak and age notes, and even like the 10-year, the 107, just Rip Van Winkle, I guess is what they call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what is really, like you said, it's not there, but also there is enough punch from the rye spice to give it a nice finish, complexity. This is, man, I hate to say it, but this is really freaking good, man.
Yeah, it's
like I want to be like, don't worry, guys, you never need to try a Van Winkle, but man, this is pretty good.
definitely better than the 10 and the Lot B for sure. My memory of the 20 and 15 are a little bit hazy at this point, or should I say my palate, so I won't comment on those, but this to me is the more enjoyable of those two by a good margin.
I would agree. The 15 probably punches above this. It's got good proof, good age.
Yeah,
The 20s and 23s are just so hit and miss. I don't even want to comment on them. I've had good ones and bad ones.
a little bit of water. It's becoming even more candy too.
Yeah, I went very light on the water, just hope to put enough to like spread it out. I mean, it was literally like a drop.
Yeah, I was really conservative with it as well.
But yeah, it's almost brought out more of that watermelon note. A little more powdered sugar.
Yeah, watermelon sweet candy or sweet tarts or something like that.
Yeah, but it's still got that nice earthy rye bread spice note. I mean, that's still the dominant thing here, really. But those other notes are what make this distinct from other ryes that I've had.
Doesn't pleasantly surprised with this.
Yeah,
Usually Mary's gonna perk up when I hear Van Winkle.
you know, the last time I had this, I was at the bar with a couple of friends of mine, and one of the girls was like, "Hey, come back to my place and we'll hang out." I was like, "All right, cool." We get back there, and she's like, "Yeah, just have a drink of whatever you want." And her dad's got like 20 bottles of liquor, Mike. And nothing was better than maybe Woodford Reserve. I mean, it was like Smirnoff, Woodford Reserve, like Bacardi, like flavored stuff. And then
Woodford Reserve it is.
And then Van Winkle, 13-year rye. And I was like, "You really mean anything?" She's like, "Oh, yeah." So I grabbed that bottle and poured 3 glasses. And then she shoots it. So she had no idea what Dad had.
He did.
Yeah, he probably came back and was like, "What?"
Trust me, he's like that Bob, like, okay. Better hope he's my favorite child.
A little bit of spice came up. I would say this one, it's ready to drink neat, and they've hit the right spot. Just that little bit of water, just brought a little spice I don't like out. Didn't hurt it much, but
yeah, I would say it lessened the sweetness and brought up a little more of the rye notes. It's quite a bit spicier with water. All right, Dustin, so where are you at as far as the whiskey score on this Van Winkle
I'm
2020?
going to go with the lower of two numbers I was thinking. I'm going to give it the 89. I think it's a really exceptional whiskey. I'm leaning on the 90 because it is such a beautiful nose. The nose is 91 level.
Great nose.
Finish is good with the spice note, but there's just not enough oiliness and not enough viscosity for me to quite want to give it the 90, I think.
A little light.
But it's right there.
A little light. I'm an 88, which is always a very, very good whiskey. Very good whiskey. I kind of agree with you. I prefer it neat. Great mouthfeel. Great nose. The finish was solid, especially before I added water. Didn't handle water very well. Didn't handle that transition very well. But overall, an enjoyable whiskey. One of my, again, I prefer it to the Lot B. I prefer it to the Van Winkle 10 107. Was that a 107?
Yes.
10, yes. So if you have a chance to drink, you have any of those three at your disposal, I would definitely give this one a try. And yeah, I mean, I would say this is a whiskey definitely worth trying.
But if you put this next to, like, let's say we had the New Riff 8-year malted rye, that has such a better mouthfeel, viscosity, just the way texture.
That malted rye was quite impressive. Yes.
Yeah, so that's why this isn't quite getting in that 90 ranges. The mouthfeel is not there. But if you're just looking for something at a bar, you're not looking for high proof. You just want something with a really nice flavor. Smells great.
Smells good. Tastes good.
Yeah,
has a nice finish.
This would probably actually be a better choice because you can have and this might even be a good cigar one just because of that nice spice there at the end.
I don't disagree, and I also say this: when you're talking about the balance between bourbon and rye, and the 90% rye or 90% rye or 90% bourbon, this one I agree. This has to be so close to a 50-50 match.
Yeah,
because it really gives you quite a bit of both.
Yeah, and that's a good point, man. If you're a bourbon drinker who's not a big rye guy, this is still going to be rye, but this might be more your liking too. So
yeah, this is a middle ground.
Really good stuff. 120 is the MSRP. I know people rarely ever see those, but
no.
120, I think it's a really obvious buy.
I agree.
And,
please go for secondary.
So I've heard they're going for a little bit less than they used to, but about $1,200, which is kind of ridiculous. $200-$300 if a store for some reason doesn't want to be totally a dick, but they want to make a little more profit. I think I'd be willing to go there because it's just such a unique and pleasant experience.
I'd be willing to go a couple $100, but that's about
2-3 is where I'm limiting myself on this one.
Agreed. Anyway, those are our thoughts on this particular whiskey. If you guys had a chance to try this one, let us know what you guys think. Dustin, until next time, what do you wish the folks?
Happy drinking.
We'll see you then.